We're going to take one of the most famous stories in the Bible, a text you probably think you know inside and out, and just peel back its layers. Because underneath the surface, there's this hidden world of psychology, of ethics, and just pure narrative genius, all uncovered by one of the greatest commentators in history.
So picture this. It's Genesis chapter 18. Abraham is just sitting by his tent in the desert heat, and suddenly, 3 strangers appear. He rushes out, he offers them water, rest, a meal. It seems like a beautiful, really straightforward story about being kind to strangers, right?
But here's the thing. What if that simplicity is just a disguise? What if the text is actually packed with these tiny little inconsistencies and strange phrasing that are really clues? Clues that are pointing to a much, much deeper story. Well, that is the mystery we're going to dig into.
So let's treat this chapter of Genesis like our case file. And every great case, well, it needs a master detective. And ours is this incredible textual sleuth who lived 1,000 years ago, a man named Rashi.
Okay, so here's our first puzzle, right in the opening lines. Verse 1 says, "The Lord appeared to him." Whoa, an incredible moment. But then verse 2 immediately pivots. Abraham looks up and he sees 3 men. So wait a minute, who's he interacting with here? Is it God? Or is it these 3 strangers? The narrative just seems to jump, and that's our first clue.
And this is where our detective, Rashi, comes in. This guy was an absolute legend. He didn't just explain what words meant. He had this genius for noticing the smallest little oddities in the text. His whole goal was to get the plain meaning, but in doing that, he uncovered this brilliant subtext that has fascinated people for centuries.
Okay, so let's kick off our investigation with the man at the center of it all, Abraham. Rashi zooms right in on the opening details to paint a picture of his character that is way more dramatic than you'd think at first glance.
The text makes a point of telling us the time as the day grew hot. Now, this seems like just a little atmospheric detail, right? But for a detective like Rashi, nothing is an accident. He asks the key question, why even mention the heat?
And boom, here's his brilliant insight. The intense heat wasn't some random weather event. It was an act of divine kindness. See, Abraham was recovering from his circumcision, and God intentionally made it scorching hot so no travelers would be out and about, giving him a chance to rest up and heal.
But here's the amazing twist. God's plan for a quiet day kind of backfires. Abraham isn't relieved. He's actually distressed. His desire to show hospitality is so powerful that he's genuinely pained by the lack of guests. So he sits at the door, just hoping, waiting for someone to serve.
And this just shows you the absolute depth of his character. I mean, think about it. He's in real pain. It's the 3rd day after a surgical procedure, which everyone knows is the most painful. And yet, he doesn't just welcome the guests, he runs to them. He bows down, he begs them to stay, and he personally supervises every single detail of their meal. This isn't just being polite, this is a heroic act of righteousness.
All right, let's move on to our next clue. Who exactly are these 3 visitors? The text calls them men, but their actions, their messages, they're clearly divine. Rashi sets out to solve this angelic riddle.
The number itself is the clue. Why 3? Not 2, not 4. In a text that is this precise, the number 3 has to mean something specific. So, what is going on here?
So here's the key. Rashi lays down this really cool operating principle, a rule of celestial mechanics, if you will. He explains that in the biblical worldview, an angel only gets sent for one main task. One mission, one angel. That's it.
And just like that, with that one simple rule, the whole puzzle just clicks into place. Rashi explains that 3 separate divine things were about to happen. So you need 3 angels. Michael came to give Sarah the amazing news about Isaac. Gabriel came with a tough job to destroy Sodom. And Raphael came first to heal Abraham, and then, since rescuing is a kind of healing, he went on to rescue Lot. It's just an incredibly neat, elegant solution.
Okay, now we get to what I think is maybe the most powerful insight in this whole story. It's the ethical heart of it all, and it revolves around Sarah's reaction to the news and a tiny, almost unnoticeable change in the divine conversation.
So when Sarah overhears the angel's promise of a child, she laughs. It's a laugh of pure disbelief, and you got to pay close attention to what she's thinking here. She gives 2 reasons for her doubt. Her own old age, and she says, "My Lord is old."
A moment later, God confronts Abraham about Sarah's laughter. But how does God quote her? Does he repeat her words exactly as she thought them?
Just look at this. It's an absolutely stunning moment of divine editing. God asks Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh?" saying, "Shall I in truth bear a child when I am old?" God completely leaves out Sarah's comment about Abraham being old. He actually changes her words, and it seems like he's doing it to protect Abraham's feelings.
And this is where Rashi just hits us with this profound conclusion. Why the change? For the sake of Shalom Bayit, for peace in the home. God, in this single moment, models an absolutely crucial ethical lesson. Sometimes, for the sake of a relationship, you edit the truth. It's this incredible lesson about kindness and harmony embedded right there in God's own speech.
So when we take a step back and look at all this, what have we really learned? Rashi's commentary, it isn't just a collection of cool facts. It's a masterclass in a whole new way of reading.
By paying attention to the tiny details, the heat of the day, the number of visitors, the exact wording of a quote, Rashi pulls back the curtain on the story behind the story. We see the hidden depths of Abraham's character, we understand the logic of the angelic visit, and we learn these profound ethical lessons about kindness. In this way of reading, absolutely nothing is an accident.
And that really is the ultimate takeaway. Following Rashi through this story teaches us a method. It's an invitation to just slow down, to look closer, and to ask questions of the texts we meet in our own lives, refusing to believe that the surface story is the only story there is.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If a few verses about a meal in the desert can hold all of this drama, all of this logic, all of this ethical depth, what other incredible stories are lying just beneath the surface of the things we think we know best?